Middle school teachers, what is the cringiest thing you've seen a student do? Had an 8th grade girl pretend to pass out because she was upset. She got written up for screaming that another girl was a fucking bitch in the middle of a science lesson. Then got upset when that other girl didn't also get in trouble for looking at her wrong. In the dean's office she was so upset that she pretended to faint, complete with back of the palm to the forehead and dramatic exhale, and then laid on the floor until we were forced to call an ambulance. Before the ambulance came, mom walked in. She worked right across the street and said, "Damn it, Jennifer. We are not doing this again." So evidently this was a regular happening around their house. At this point, the girl squinted her eyes open, but refused to actually get up. When the squad got there, they checked her vitals and basically knew she was fine. They had to take her, because we can't take chances with this stuff in schools. We all just kind of looked at each other and shrugged. So, yeah, that was cringy. We get drug seekers who fake seizures a lot. This medic once told me about a nerdoc who called him over to the doorway after bringing one in and says, "Watch this," before saying loud enough for the patient, who was faking a seizure right there. I'm not sure if it's a real seizure because she didn't pee her pants right on cue, she pisses herself. One of the kids responded to questions like Pikachu. Shame that a good kid is going to look back on those days with absolute horror. There was always this kid that would go up to guys, shake their hands and deeply sniff their necks. One day a teacher asked why he did this to guys and all he said was, "If I did it to girls it would be weird." I once confiscated what I first thought was a note being passed in class, but turned out to be a gay fanfic one of my students wrote, pairing two of her classmates. Tweak X Craig. And then Tweak grabbed Craig's bearer's cheek and fucked him on the school locker for the cameras to record their sweat love, with Craig stopping for air every 10 seconds and Tweak's weirty from the hot X. Kid wore clothes to school with the price tag sticking out. When asked why, I was informed that this was to let everyone know he was wearing new clothes. You should tell them that it doesn't really count unless you staple the sales slip to the front of your shirt. One student wanted to ask me if I had a doppelganger. What he actually said was, "Do you have a dingleberry?" I also had a girl ask me what food stamps were, which isn't surprising because the district is very affluent. I explained, but she still seemed confused, so she asked what it means to blow a trucker for food stamps. Evidently she was reading a book meant for a more mature audience, and her worldly knowledge hadn't caught up to her reading level yet. Didn't you know? Truck drivers just have this huge obsession with novelty postage marks, and the only way that you can get some of their exclusive items is to blow them out the window so that they think they lost them on the trip. Otherwise, they get incredibly upset and will stop at nothing to find them. My mom is a middle school English teacher. Once, a student snuck a bar of soap into her class, ate it, and proceeded to run out of the classroom and start vomiting. Apparently, he did it to impress his friends. Did he finish the whole bar though? I had a student who would constantly butt into people's conversations, and when they asked him to mind his own business he'd stand up and proclaim, "Nobody likes me. Everyone thinks I'm so annoying. Haha." And he'd laugh while everyone awkwardly stared at him. Another kid literally told me one time that he would just act annoying so that he could impress a certain group of boys. They were not impressed. "Nobody likes me. Everyone thinks I'm so annoying. Haha." Well, at least he's honest with himself. There was the student who had his hands in his pants, moving his hand up and down almost to a rhythm. That was cringy. I just stared at him in the eye till he noticed that I knew, and then he stopped. Edit. Store became stared. I had one of those. He wasn't allowed to wear pants or shorts with elastic waistbands after a while. How would they enforce that? Just make him stop wearing pants. I work for a private school. This middle schooler recently started dating another one. The girl decided to come to school in a black leather miniskirt and black leather tank top combo. At recess, which I watch because it's a small school, she was dancing all around in front of her boyfriend and hanging of the fence a la stripper. It was hilarious and so cringy. I had a student from a conservative Muslim family wear white see-through sweat pants with a visible black thong on underneath. She brought the clothes to school and changed in the bathroom before class started. We would get sent home from my high school if we got caught doing that. But yeah, lot of the Muslim girls found ways to do it too. We had a student who started going to each class he passed, leaning in the door and yelling "Mom spaghetti" and moving on. Bet that made everyone a bit nervous. But on the surface, they look calm and ready. I teach history and let my students do a PowerPoint presentation on the history on anything. Some kid did the history of furries. He came to class wearing his fursuit. I teach high school now. Edit. And to the people saying he couldn't afford a fursuit, I didn't say it was a good suit. It was made by cheap local fabric and sewed together by all the sewing skills he learned in home eco. It was a patchwork mess. What grade did you give him? He got a 95/100ths for creativity and expressive behavior. I caught the student on Google search attempting to look me up. He spelled my name wrong and my name is very common, so I wasn't worried. I sent him home, since it was an after-school homework club, and then went through the rest of the history, which included boobs, naked women, Megan Fox nudes and Megan Fox panties. One of the other students in the class kind of picked up on what was happening and mentioned that he has also been kicked out of the public library for similar reasons. Once a friend of mine described his quest as a kid breaking into puberty, trying to figure out porn. He described how he would Google boobs and variable/equivalents and not getting much. It was honestly the most relatable and funny story ever. He was telling it in spiritual life class. Oh, I just thought about another. They were talking about dank memes which were about band class BTW. I was told, Mrs. Confuzzled Eb, don't look up dank memes, okay? I told them that I had been on the internet since before they were born. Had a kid who legitimately believed he was a Sith, like from Star Wars. His helicopter mom would come flying down to the school crying religious discrimination if you told him otherwise. He would relax his throat and talk in a deep voice and say it was his real voice, but he disguised his voice to not scare his human brethren. On free dress days he'd wear an all denim outfit with high waters and denim vest over a denim shirt. I had him for science, so he'd blurt out things about alchemy from an anime he was into whenever we were working with the periodic table. He also had a girlfriend who lived in Mexico, who was also his cousin. Humankind cannot gain anything without first giving something in return. To obtain something of equal value must be lost. That is alchemist's first law of equivalent exchange. In those days, we really believed that to be the world's one and only truth. Around the 8th grade dance season, they call it prom. There is a whole lot of cringiness roaming the halls. One popular tactic among the boys was explained to me. We ask the girl to prom, and then we run away, so she can't say no. Saw a student write boy pussy on the whiteboard thinking nobody was looking. He's had enough 4chan for now, I think. I was demonstrating convection, which included burning some newspaper. One kid piped up with HMN. That smells like incest. He meant incense. They were too young to get it, but I nearly died trying not to laugh. Maybe that kid's siblings burn newspaper while they smash. I had a 6th grader lick a book. He definitely tried to keep it on the DL, so he looked around, made sure no one was looking in his direction, and then licked the book. It was a tongue poke, then a full out lick up the spine of the book. A library book, or his own book. A book we were reading in class. I had a class set of the book, so students would return said book back to a bin at the end of class. No telling which of my kids touched the book before he licked it. Oh, and I forgot to mention he did this 2 more times before he stopped. I once offered a boy a My Little Pony color by number sheet, ran out of Super Mario. The boy's response, Mister, I'm not gay, I'm a lesbian. I like girls. After 10 years of middle school, I should had a novel's worth. However, so many years of middle school decimates your brain, and as someone else said, middle schoolers are generally cringy most of the time. The kid who wrote Mrs. Charpennett loves cookies on the board when he sincerely meant to write cookies definitely ranks high up there, though. We all cringed that day. I had a kid carve his own name in his desk, but he couldn't figure out how we caught him. I taught 4th grade last year, and I had a student who was 12 years old, middle school age, held back a few years. She always did very odd things to try to impress her classmates, but they were relatively tame. Until there was a line in the bathroom and she took her pants off, squatted over the trash can, and peed. 4 or 5 girls came running out of the bathroom and told on her. Sometimes the students telling on each other can be cringy enough. Getting told on by my classmates is how I remember much of middle school going. 4 or 5 would go to report, even if only one witnessed it. Teacher, I've had several reports that you were doing such and such. I'm still bitter.